Um, well, good morning or good afternoon, depending on which class this video is playing for. This is your favorite instructor slash dictator sitting in my office after hours doing this for your bratty asses. Not supposed to say that out loud. Um, and I have with me the one, the only, the friendly neighborhood resume expert slash interview guide slash I don't know, just an obnoxious human being on the side, and a mother of an adorable little 2-year-old
Yes.
girl, Fatma Mirza. Um, hey, Fatma, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for doing this. I know it's super early where you are,
Mhm.
and we always appreciate you doing these things for us for free. Um, right.
Yeah, I want
So
I want people to pay attention because if you were paying me for this, I would charge you like a minimum of $5,000 for a day workshop.
she is not even kidding about those are not exaggerated figures. She actually charges that much.
So
Yeah,
pay attention like you would pay to somebody that you just paid $5,000 is what I'm gonna say.
there you go. All right. So in the previous session, we talked about resumes, we talked about cover letters or emails, and
Mhm.
then we talked a little bit about LinkedIn. So they already have the ideas. And I will also share, of course, the resource materials that you were
Mhm.
kind enough
Mhm.
to give us. So let us shift our focus a little bit to something that is not discussed, practiced, or emphasized that much in a classroom environment, which is interviewing, because
Mhm.
that is, I believe, a very integral, important part of the job hunt, the job selection, or if you're applying for other things like scholarships and all that, the interview sometimes is something that gets you kicked out of the race, right?
Mhm.
And that's something that is undervalued, in my opinion. So let me ask with the very simple and maybe even commonsensical question:
Mhm.
what is a good amount of time to spend preparing an interview?
I think the first time you're preparing for like a batch of interviews, let's say you're looking for a job and you know you're going to have like 3, 4 interviews in the upcoming months. The first time I would prepare at least for 3 to 4 hours where you think about, questions about your strengths and weaknesses and what you have to bring to the table and articulate that, maybe prepare flashcards or something. But then for each job, you also want to do a fair amount of prep as well, depending on what stage of the interview you are at. So I don't know if it's the same in Pakistan, but over here, like there's different rounds of interviewing where in the
Mhm,
first round, it's generally with like an HR professional, and then you have like different decision makers that you're speaking to, depending on the size of the company.
mhm,
Um, so I would do research on the company's values. I would do research on each of the interviewers that you're interviewing with. And you can even ask HR, like, hey, can you tell me a little bit about the person that I'm interviewing with? Or if you have their LinkedIn profile, I'd love to look them up so that I'm prepared for the interview. They're going to
mhm,
appreciate this initiative. And it's also
mhm.
going to give you information that's going to be critical. Um, it's going to come in handy during the interview process.
All right. Okay. And you mentioned company values. How
Mhm.
exactly would you define values? How do I find them out?
This is a really complex question, especially if you are like a more senior professional, because when you're like a senior professional, you're actually directing the culture and the values
Mm,
of the company you're joining. But if you're
yes.
younger, you probably don't have that much of a stake unless you're interviewing with like a small startup with some friends and stuff like that. So you want to know like the size of the company because if it's a really large company, their values are going to be more focused on things like collaboration and teamwork and identifying the next big opportunity and capitalizing on it. For a smaller company, they might be on things like cost effectiveness, the ability to bootstrap, the ability to get things done very quickly and make like a big market share very quickly, those kinds of things. So it depends on the role, it depends on the nature of the company, but understanding what their values are critical for shaping your interview answers, because at the end of the day, your technical skills and your capabilities are definitely being questioned while you're interviewing, but also your ability to mesh with the cultural values and the people there, your likability factor. That's some would say even more important than your capabilities, depending on the nature of the role that you're interviewing for.
All right. Okay, and now let's get to brass tacks, so to
Okay.
speak, and talk about the actual question and answers that happen in interviews. So the most basic question that usually, initially, at least, is asked that I introduce yourself,
Yes.
or what are your strengths and weaknesses. So
Mhm.
let's start with that. What
Mhm.
is a great way of introducing yourself to an interview panel?
Yeah, so you would think that, oh, okay, I've prepared for this question once, I'm done. Actually, the question, tell me about yourself, or walk me through your resume, or what brings you here, why are you interested in this job, tell me about your biggest strengths. Your answer to each of these questions should vary depending on the job description and depending on the values that the company has. And I'll tell you why. A lot of people make this mistake where they think that the question, tell me about yourself, is truly about yourself. Not at
Mm,
all. It's
mm,
actually about the job and how you can support whatever objectives they have. So that's different for each job. Therefore, the answer needs to change for each job. So, how I would answer the question, tell me about yourself, for like a small startup would be totally different to how I would answer it for a larger company. And I'm just saying that as a professional who has, like a large team under me and stuff like that. As a younger professional, maybe, like I said before, like your ability to direct the vision and cultural values of a company are not so much in question, but you're going to be interviewing, I'm guessing, as new graduates do, for roles that are fairly different. One time you're going to be interviewing in front of a scholarship committee. One time you're going to be interviewing for like a research type job. One time you're going to
mm.
be interviewing in front of like a corporate type job, and their values are all going to be different. So here
Yes.
I actually messaged you with a few cheat sheets that I have. One of them is
Mhm.
my interview cheat sheet. I highly recommend that all your students go through it because I break down the question, tell me about yourself, and I have a framework in there. And there's bonus, a little component that new graduates can use, like a fill in the blank template to answer this
Okay.
question.
Could we share our scare? Yeah.
Yes.
Share our screen and scare them with the actual thing that you have there.
Yes, I will
Maybe we
scare
can.
I will scare them appropriately. All right, let me
Yeah.
make my screen bigger and zoom in. How do I do
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. That's helpful.
that? Okay, so this is like the question that most people mess up, which is tell me about yourself, walk me through your
Mm,
resume. How have you grown as a young professional? They're asking because they want to see, they don't care about you. They're not asking because they're
mm.
like, "Oh, what a handsome gentleman. I'd love to get to know him and marry him." They're not thinking that at all. It's not a first date, people. All right? It's an interview. Act professional.
I feel like that was a subtle dig at me. Okay.
What? You're handsome? Like, because you ugly. No, I'm just kidding.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
No. You're a very handsome man. But the point is, nobody cares. Nobody cares if you're
And
handsome.
her
Nobody cares.
family is in no danger. She's saying this of her free will. Yes. Yes.
Oh, what were we talking about? So,
Interviews.
yes,
Yes.
I totally do not have ADHD. But okay, yes, I was saying that they don't care at all about who you are. They don't care about oh, I was the head of this club and I've done this and
Mm,
that. What they really care about is the business objectives they have and can you fulfill them? And how you match what you've done to that helps you tell a good answer. So here's here's how people mess up. You don't focus on the role that you're interviewing on. So for example, if you're interviewing for, say, a sales position, what does a salesperson do? They do communication. They're responsible for helping people get excited about something. They're responsible for negotiating and closing large deals and that kind of thing. If you're like, oh, I was like the head of this club and that, that's fine. But if you can connect that, so you can say something like, my name is Fatemah, and I was, I played a lead role in many activities in my school, and I think this taught me how to communicate with people, how to get people excited about different projects we were working on, and onboard them to different projects. And I think this is a critical skill that I can then utilize in your role as well. Getting people excited about your product, getting them excited to join and onboard them and stuff like that. So that was like a rough answer. Obviously, you want to practice based on the role that you're in. Don't focus on your personal life. Nobody cares. Nobody cares at all. Like at all.
No one
If
at
you
all.
said, oh my God, I had this. I want to cry thinking about this, but I had this one interview where I asked this woman, tell me about yourself. And she was like telling me about like where she grew up and this and that. And I was like, I don't care. I'm so stressed out. I need to hire somebody to do this. And you're telling me about your 4 cats and your 3 dogs and how it's such chaos in your house. And I'm like, bro, can you come to work not smelling like animal?
Yeah.
Yeah, so talking too much, drawing attention to weaknesses in your candidacy, that's another big one. Like say you're interviewing for a marketing role, but you didn't study marketing in school. So if you start with, oh, I studied computer science and I'm a computer science student, that's kind of, you're drawing attention to a weakness in your candidacy. So rather you can start with like, although I have studied computer science in my schooling, I believe this helps me practice my analytical skills, and I think I would make an exceptional marketer because I've already taken related coursework on data-informed decision making and blah 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 blah.
Okay.
Right. And here's the framework. So this is what I currently do. This is how I got my start. So since you're young, you probably don't have much professional experience, but I became interested in this when I was working on XYZ project. And this is what I want to achieve, and these are how I can use my strengths to fulfill your business objectives, and something you won't see on my resume as well. I'm not saying don't be personal, like don't talk at all about your personal life, but you can say one small thing just to humanize yourself, and that's enough. And I don't even know if that's appropriate in Pakistani culture, but it would be fine here.
Maybe if you can link it somehow to a skill that you have or something that you can actually do for the
Or
employer.
bonus, if you stalked the interviewers like a good little stalker, like I've been teaching you, you can be like, in my free time, I love hiking on the Islamabad trails. And if you see, oh, they're posting a lot of pictures of Islamabad trails, like our friendly neighborhood Hasham Ahmad likes to do, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Sure.
Then Hasham will be like, wow, this person is similar to me, and it's establishing likability.
Okay. Yes. So appealing to them on a personal level then.
Yeah, but you don't want to be like, I noticed that you post on Instagram and get
Don't
creepy.
want to sound like yeah. Don't give off stalker vibes.
You just want to be a stalker, but you want to hide that part of your personality, right? Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
Okay, so another question that is asked quite a lot is, tell me about 3 of your strengths and weaknesses. How do I navigate that question?
Oh
Because,
my God, you actually get asked 3 of your strengths and 3 of your weaknesses, really, in one question?
yeah, that's happened to me.
Dang, that's crazy. That's a
Yeah,
really tough interview question.
yeah.
Yeah, I think sharing one weakness is tough enough as it is.
Hmm.
I think I don't even know why somebody would ask such a question. That's hinting to you that they're not a very good interviewer, because if you have a chance to share to answer that question properly, like you're going to be talking for like 6 minutes, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you can if I was in an interview, I would definitely break that down into, can you share another strength, can you share another strength, and give them a chance
Mm,
to answer each one appropriately. But
mm,
anyway, how I would answer that is, obviously you want to pick a strength that's related to the job. You don't want to be like going into a sales job and being like, I work really independently. Like, no, in sales you have to be collaborative. You have to help people with, making decisions and being convincing and stuff like that. So you want to pick a strength that's related to the job. Most job descriptions will say, some of your strengths should be blah, 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 blah. So pick strengths from there that you agree that you have. And they might
mm.
not be your biggest strengths, but you want to lie and say that those are your biggest strengths. As for
Okay.
weaknesses, these should be weaknesses that should not just be like self-congratulatory, like,
Mm,
oh, I'm sometimes like too perfect at work and I kind of set the bar high, and shut up, nobody cares. So what your
mm,
weaknesses should be are things that you've actually worked on, and your answer should show a level of self-awareness and desire to improve yourself. So like a weakness that I have in my cheat sheet is, I noticed that I was getting really excited in meetings and I tended to interrupt people with my ideas.
mm.
But I came to realize that this was not really productive and making people feel heard. So what I started doing is waiting for 2 seconds after anyone finished their thought to make sure they were done speaking, and then I would start speaking. And I feel I've gotten a lot better at this. Something like
All
that.
right. All
Yeah.
right. Awesome. Okay. And okay, let's talk about when you are not in a corporate sort of an environment and maybe you're in an interview panel with a bunch of people who decide whether you get a scholarship or a fellowship or something like that. A lot of my students have applied for the grad program or the sister to sister exchange program, so exchange programs and scholarships and stuff like that. So, how do I navigate that? How do I tell them that I'm the, perfect candidate, so to speak?
So this depends upon the nature of the scholarship. If it's like a department scholarship, like let's say I won a scholarship when I was at UCLA, for my environment within my environmental engineering department.
Hmm. Hmm.
For that, I focused very heavily on my strengths as they relate to being an environmental engineer. So again, we're understanding the values that they have. So I talked about like how I was really excited to help curb irrigation problems and, help with flooding issues and stuff like that in my scholarship essay. And in my interview, I said, this is what I'm really excited about. And these are some of the classes that I'm taking to support this objective that I have to help with, you know, uh, helping farmers have clean access to water for their crops and stuff like that. So that's like when that's easy. When you have a very specific kind of scholarship like that, it's very easy that you understand what their values are and you can. But what do you do when it's like a general thing, like, oh, here's like a merit-based scholarship we're giving out to students who have like, good studies and blah blah blah. There you want to show that you are a good investment. People are
Hmm.
giving you money for free, or they're giving you an opportunity for free, whether that's mentorship, the opportunity to go abroad and study, money, whatever it is. They're making an investment. How they like, why are they doing this? Is it because they're good people? Maybe. But what
Hmm.
they're benefiting from this is they're going to take your profile. They're going to say, look, we help people like Hasham Ahmed. He's a teacher. He helps orphan children out of the goodness of his heart, and he teaches them for free and all of that. And
Right.
they're going to use his profile to get more funding for more scholarships. So it's a way for them to market the work
Hmm.
they're doing. So you have to show
Right.
that you're a good investment. You are making some sort of impact in the broader community around you. So you want to appear as a pointy candidate, right? So a pointy
Hmm.
candidate is not someone that's just well-rounded, but they
Hmm.
have one like facet of their personality that they're very excited about. So maybe
Okay.
you are really good at communication, and maybe that means that you're also tutoring people at your local speech and debate club. Maybe it means that you are leading a Toastmasters club. So tying all of this in together into that kind of answers that showcase
Mm,
your pointy personality, it's critical to show that you have one key strength and that you're using that one key strength to make some sort of broader impact in the society around you. That, okay, what I'm trying to say is, like, when you go to those, the mistake that people make when they go to those kind of interviews, they're like, they give it's very difficult to remember that person, because they're like, oh, I've done this, I'm really interested in engineering, I'm the head of my engineering society, we've worked on this project, and I'm also really excited about philanthropic efforts, like we give back, we started like a COVID relief fund, oh, and I'm also really, it doesn't have a theme, right?
mm, mm,
However, you can make those answers pointy by bringing them around a point. For example, if you're the same candidate and you've done all of that, you can say something like, I'm really excited about using engineering solutions to uplift the people of Pakistan out of poverty, right? So
okay.
some of the ways that I'm practicing and improving my skill set in this regard is I've started a COVID relief fund. This is giving me some practice on how to identify social causes that we should be directing our efforts towards. I'm also the head of the engineering society. I'm learning valuable technical skills. I'm hoping to someday be able to marry these two projects together and use some of the engineering solutions we're developing as students to, tackle XYZ problem.
Okay. All right. That makes sense.
Mhm.
Um, okay. And I have encountered some interviewers who
Mhm.
are, for the lack of a better word, just rude, and they use their position of power to intimidate the other person instead of making them comfortable in that situation.
Mhm.
How do you suggest one deal with them?
Well, I know how I would do it. I mean,
Uh,
I would just walk away. I know a lot of
mm,
people don't have that luxury. If
yes.
you're, how would you deal with this? Let me hear what you have to say.
Um, Okay, so the thing is, there's this, I think, twisted sort of thinking and mentality here in Pakistan, that they try to put you under pressure and they try to simulate a hostile environment and see how you respond to it. Which I
Wow.
think,
Wow. This
yeah,
is why the nation of Pakistan is so agay. Wow.
that's that's true, and that's why I called it twisted. My right now, as I am now, I would very respectfully tell them that I feel a lot of hostility in your stance, and if this continues, it would not be possible for me to continue to answer whatever you want me to answer in a calm professional sort of manner. So I would kindly request you to rather change a little bit, so that
Mhm.
the environment is more conducive. In the past, because I saw that as an unprofessional behavior, so I was like, okay, I'm up for a challenge. Let me double down on it and give you a taste of your own medicine. And I would answer them extremely sarcastically. And of course, I would lose the job, right? Learned that the hard way. So, and okay, and I'm kind of not ashamed of that, because I would not have wanted to work in those places anyway, where they don't value you, or where they kind of uh, are rude to you or treat you badly. That is my take on it.
I mean, if you're desperate and you absolutely had to make it work, I would
Mm,
just remember that the reason that they're doing that is because they have an ego problem. Maybe their
mm,
mom didn't love them enough when they were younger. Maybe their dad slapped them around too much. Just try to picture them as a little kid that's being slapped around, and you're going to feel sorry for them. And
yeah.
you're going to be like, okay, this guy's trying to, or this woman's trying to, and I've noticed that, like, especially in the technical space, when you're kind of like self-made, like when you're like a woman, it's really hard to get
Mm,
ahead in the technical space. If you're a very talented, computer scientist in the technical space, you have to build these defensive walls around yourself and kind of be like, I'm a hard ass, you know, I'm like, don't mess with me. And having empathy for that as well can teach you a lot of really like I okay, full disclosure, I work with somebody like that. She's very like don't mess with me kind of thing. She does all of our technical stuff at Career Tuners. But I've learned that it's because she's a Pakistani woman living in a very small city working virtually where men are constantly being picked above her for jobs that she has a master's degree in computer science from LUMS. Like she's extremely qualified. Like, you know, and I understand why she has these kind of I have to show that I'm not somebody to be messed with. I'm not going to be taken advantage of. So there's two different ways to look at these people. And one of them I think is valid. Like if you're building defensive walls because you want to show that you're not to be messed with and you have to that's okay. Like I'm fine working with a person like that. Like I love her. She's great. But if it's somebody who's just trying to put you down in order to show that, hey, you have to listen to me and you have to take that job, like you're desperate, treat that job as a stepping stone. It's going to be really, really bad for your mental health in the time being. But
Yeah.
you'll learn how to not carry yourself when you are a leader, when you do have people under you. You'll learn exactly how to make people comfortable in that you are being put in like such an uncomfortable place. So just answer to the best of your capabilities and just understand that the other person is doing it not because they hate you specifically, but because they hate themselves.
Right. Well, humans are complex and well messed up, and we have our issues. Anyway, so let's move
Moving
on.
on. Moving on
Moving
from.
on. Moving on. Let's go to how do you end a interview and kind of ensure that you get a call for the
Mhm.
next round or whatever.
You know, usually they'll say something like, that's all the questions we have. Do you have any questions
Mm,
for us? So you
mm,
want to ask questions that show that you're really excited to make to hit all of their business objectives, right?
mm,
Asking questions like, what would you say that somebody has to achieve here within the first 6 months of hiring for you to be like, wow, we hired somebody really exceptional? And
mm,
ask questions that show that you're excited to contribute to those efforts. And then when you're done, when you've asked your questions, everything is done, you can say, it was really nice getting to know you and learn about the work that you're doing. I would be really excited to contribute to the projects that you're working on. When can I expect communication about next steps?
mm, mhm. Right. Okay, and let's talk about the question that everyone, I think, is thinking and anticipating. How do I negotiate a salary?
Mm-hmm.
Or how do I answer the question, what is your salary expectation? How do I tackle that question?
So it's gonna be, I think my advice to you is gonna be very different from
Mm,
I'm only used to teaching people how to negotiate their salary in the United States where workers have a lot of protection. Like
mm,
employers are not allowed to ask in most states, what are you currently being paid and stuff like that.
mm.
Um, if they're asking you how much you're currently being paid in Pakistan, do they have any way to check?
Well, they could do a reference check, maybe,
Okay.
but usually no. But whenever I teach, I recommend that you don't lie about your salary, whatever you're getting. You are truthful upfront about it,
Mm-hmm.
because even if they find out from some obscure source, that would leave a very bad sort of an impression for you, even if you get hired.
Mm-hmm.
um, I remember there was this one director of something working in an international NGO here in Pakistan. And during his interview phase, they asked him this question or something, ke, what are you currently making right now? And he lied to them.
Mm-hmm.
And later on, they found out that, he had made false claims on his CV as well, वगैरह वगैरह, इस तरह की चीजें. And that led to his termination. And
I think the
the thing
termination
was,
probably had to do more with the CV than the salary.
mm,
I would lie, honestly speaking.
okay, all
Honestly
right,
speaking, I would lie. I love that sentence. I would say with bonuses, my salary can be as high as blah blah blah. So you're not like lying, but
mm,
if they hear something else, if they're like, oh, but you don't want to be like, I'm paid like 3 million rupees a year. Is that a lot of
yeah,
money? Is that or no?
3 million a year. Not really.
Okay. Let's make it 45 million a year. Is that a lot?
I'd have to divide and do the math
Okay,
in month.
whatever it is, don't be like aggressively peopleifying. Like don't I don't really understand Pakistani currency, so I can't really explain, especially with the
Mm,
recent inflation. I can't even
mm,
like divide dollars or multiply dollars by 100 anymore, like I used to be able to do back in 2010. What is happening in your country, Hasham? Like what? Kya ho raha hai? Like actually, kya ho raha hai? Anyway, let's not go down that rabbit hole. What I'm trying to say is, like, let's say your salary goal is a bump of 20% above what you're currently making. If
mhm,
you say like I'm making 20% above what I'm actually making,
mm.
depending on the bonuses and everything, then I think that's fine.
Um,
Do you disagree?
no, but sometimes they ask for like a salary slip or something.
They do that in Pakistan.
I don't know, but they could. I mean, there's no law prohibiting them to do that.
You
I,
guys
I don't
are like the wild wild west over there.
kind of, yeah. Anyway, depending on the situation, if you can exaggerate a little bit.
Here's another thing you can say. I'm so stupid. Why did I forget this? You can say I
Mm,
signed an NDA with a company that
mm,
I'm currently
mhm,
working at, and I hold NDAs very seriously. If we decide to work together in the future, I would also safeguard your company secrets and stuff to ensure that there's no competitive intelligence that can be leaked and
mm,
utilized. Our salary structure does fall under that NDA.
mm.
So unfortunately, I will not be able to disclose. But it sounds like you're trying to qualify me for a range. If you're comfortable sharing that range, I can let you know if that's the kind of salary that I'm looking for as well.
Okay. And okay, what if they give you a number and that's kind of not what you're expecting? It's way below what you're expecting. How would you react in that situation? How would
I'd
you?
just be like, and just leave. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
I would say, is that the best you can do? And if they say, we'll get back to you, you can say, okay, you can get back to me. If they say, if that's and if you ask if that's the best you can do and they're like, yes, then you say, I'm going to need a couple of days to think about it. You don't
Hmm.
understand the value of silence and negotiation. Actually, you probably do. Y'all Pakistanis, y'all be negotiating all the time, huh? In like bazaar.
Well,
Yeah.
hmm,
Yeah. I'm that's a
all right.
story of how not to negotiate. Some of you might be like, I'm such a great negotiator. I'm gonna like go in there and blah blah blah. Well, there's two things that can happen if you go too hard. First, you can get the offer rescinded, right?
Hmm,
Second,
hmm,
you can get the offer. Like, let's say you have a very niche skill that they absolutely need, but they're like, this person is not easy to work with. We're going to make contingency plans to replace him or her ASAP.
hmm, hmm, hmm,
You don't want either of those. You want to negotiate in a way that's collaborative
hmm,
and both parties feel like they got something good
hmm.
out of that discussion.
All right. Okay. Anything else you would like to add or a tip you would like to give regarding interviews or
Let
negotiation?
me ask you this. How do you guys do salary research in Pakistan? Here for like entry level jobs, we have like salary.com and stuff, but how does it work in
Hmm.
Pakistan?
Um,
Oh, I
we
know. There's
have
there's like some NGOs will publish the
mm,
salary reports, right? Do you guys have something
they
like that?
they do, and then there's Rosie.com. Some companies do give a range,
Mm-hmm.
um, uh, which you can expect. Sometimes they advertise it. The companies do that. but at other times they don't. For example, when I gave interview for this position, they asked me quite frankly, in a sort of an informal way. So we're all friends here. What's your expectation? Let's just hear a number. And I told my head of department, and in the panel interview they actually asked me nothing about the salary.
Mhm.
And then later on, my HOD told me that I actually negotiated on your behalf and I was able to get this amount for you, which
Mhm.
is less than what you were expecting, but it is not less by much. So would you still consider it? I was like, yeah, sure, might as well. And the thing that I absolutely did not like about this entire process was that there are categories. For example, people in mathematics or engineering are making different sort of amounts than I am. People in CS are making way more than I am, right? uh, Even if their designation and job specifications are more or less the same. So, and then they tell you not to share your whatever you're making with other people, and that's very shady in my opinion. I don't like that.
Yeah, in Pakistan, I think there's a lot of cultural norms and stuff that are designed specifically to keep poor people poor and rich people rich. The CS thing, though, I do understand, like CS professors making more, is because if they left
Hmm.
academia and they were to get a CS
Hmm.
job,
Hmm.
potentially they would be making more than if you left
True.
to get a job in your field. So that I can kind of see, but it's still not nice.
Yeah.
अच्छी बात नहीं है, गंदी बात है.
Right. Okay, and let's move on. I think we have talked about interviews in some detail, so I think we can now move on to something called professional networking. Another thing, of course, LinkedIn helps you do that,
Mhm,
uh, but something that is, I think, also kind of undervalued and not seen as an opportunity to get more projects or new jobs or to meet people that can actually introduce you to people who can get you better projects and jobs.
mhm.
So, could you tell us a little bit about how to network with people or professionals, especially when you are somebody who's bad at it?
Okay. Well, why don't I'm gonna ask you to actually answer that question. How
Mm,
would you network in Pakistan? I'll tell you how I would network on LinkedIn if you'd like me
mm,
to start like that. But I think
mm,
how we network in person and here is very different than how
mhm.
you would network in Pakistan because the cultural values are so different. I could start with the LinkedIn bit.
Sure.
I started networking on LinkedIn for like personal reasons. I'm actually going back to school to study organizational psychology. And
Mm,
I found organizational psychologists on LinkedIn that have at least, they seemed to be like in their 40s or 50s, like they had a good amount of experience. I didn't want to
mm,
talk to just other like young professionals, such as
mm,
myself, so young. So I was like, I went to them and I was like, I asked them a very simple question. And that's the key that you want to do is when you reaching out to somebody, you want to ask them a very simple question. Something that doesn't take too much time for them to think about, something that doesn't make you sound like, why didn't this idiot go ahead and just Google this first before wasting my time? So the question that I ended up asking is, I'm going back to school to study organizational psychology. I'm wondering whether I should load up on neuroscience classes because I really like neuroscience. And universally, the feedback was like, no, you should study behavioral sciences and decision making,
mm, mm,
right? But even though I knew that answer after talking to three people, I kept asking the same question to other people because I
mm,
wanted them to feel like I am in a position of authority. Wow, this lady is coming and asking me. I must be like really someone to respect. And I feel so respected. And of course I'm gonna help somebody. And this is
mm.
all part of, do you know about the Benjamin Franklin effect?
Yes, I believe I do. If you ask somebody for a favor, they are more likely to respond positively the next time you ask them for another favor.
And yeah, the other component of that is if you ask somebody for a favor, they start rationalizing that they like you.
Hmm. Hmm.
If I go and I'm like, hey, I did this for you, that is actually making you unlikable because now they feel obligated to reciprocate, and nobody likes feeling obligations. But
Hmm.
if you rather ask somebody for a favor, and you don't want to ask for like a big favor, right? Because that's
Hmm.
going to take a
Hmm.
lot of time. And we live in this modern ADHD, fast paced world where if I don't want
Hmm.
to answer an email, I can just archive it. When you're
Hmm.
just this faceless presence online, when you're not a real person, when you don't
Hmm.
have like feelings, it's easy to dismiss. Yeah, waste time. So don't go
Hmm.
asking for a simple question like, hey, can you give me a job? That's not a simple question. That's a very tough
Hmm.
question because it's
Hmm.
very tough to answer productively in that to
Hmm.
that. So
Hmm.
rather asking things like, I'm deciding whether I see that you moved to Germany. I'm considering moving to Germany as well. I'm wondering if you think that I should take German classes before my relocation. Would that be helpful? Or is it like, can I just survive if I only know English?
Hmm.
That's a
Hmm.
simple question. They'll be like, yeah, take German or don't take German. Very, very
Hmm.
simple.
Hmm.
Doesn't require any energy, doesn't require any thought. But
Hmm.
you're showing two things. First, that you care a lot, and
Hmm.
second, that you're looking for work, right?
Hmm.
If they
Hmm.
if they know anybody that, or if they know of an opportunity that matches your profile, and they're gonna look you up. If you're going on LinkedIn, they're gonna click on your profile. They're gonna be like, who's this person? Who's
Yeah.
asking such a good question? Let me see. And oh wow, you went to where do you teach again? Fast? Oh, you
Fast.
went to Fast too. I went to Fast too. Wow. What's your mascot or whatever? Or do you have
We don't have mascots.
you don't have Yes,
We have
sounds
a
good. Uh-huh.
we have a tree. We have a tree. We call it the tree of wisdom. I shall unofficially proclaim it as our mascot. Whatever. Yeah. Oh, it's hundreds of years old, man. It's super old. It's a banyan tree in the
You
middle of
can't
the.
okay, so it's a banyan tree. So you can say,
Yeah.
oh, another banyan tree.
Mm, mm,
Yes, I will help another fellow banyan tree. But you
mm,
can go
mm.
around calling people trees of wisdom. What kind of stupid mascot is that, Hasham?
No, we actually call it the tree of wisdom. It's an amazing tree. I love that tree.
Okay, I guess I'll
I
have to
will
come over and
stand by
confirm.
that tree.
Do you feel wiser when you stand next to it?
It feels wiser when when I'm standing next to it.
Do you know about those Russian memes, like in Mother Russia or in Soviet
Yeah.
Russia?
Okay. Probably people are thinking, what a bunch of dumbasses. Anyway, so
Hey, this is how you get smarter. First, you start off stupid. I had a friend when I made a really dumb mistake, and he told me, "Hey, stupidity is not an incurable disease."
mhm.
That changed my life. I was like, "You're right. You're right. I thought it was. I could get smart someday." So,
Awesome. Okay, and let me quickly ask you, if for, one day, if I am in a position to be the interviewer,
mhm.
what what do I do then? How do I make intelligent questions, vagara, and how do I make people comfortable?
Yeah, the interviewing is really challenging. This is a
Mm,
completely different skill set on its own.
mm.
But please, be a good interviewer. When you're in that position, don't be one of those crappy Pakistani interviewers that are making the
But
cleverest attack. You know what? Like the people you're like, tell me three strengths and three weaknesses. First of all, that's not a good question. Like nobody's gonna like anyway. Let's not get
mm,
into that.
mm,
But the point
mm,
is when you're on the other side of the table,
mm,
and you're asking things like you're gauging somebody and you want to figure out how much to pay them. You can
mm,
ask questions like if you're comfortable, and I understand if you're not. If you're comfortable sharing, can you let me
mm,
know,
mm,
what salary you're looking for, and
mm,
potentially what you're currently making if you're okay to share.
mm,
Giving people an out is it shows that you're collaborative, and it makes you
mm,
a more exciting person to work with. Not asking questions like what is your biggest weakness, because that doesn't actually indicate anything
mm,
that's going to help you do your job better. Like people are going to answer, and they're going to be skilled at interviewing, and they're going to answer in a way that it doesn't really indicate anything about their capabilities for the job. Ask questions, be volunteer a lot of information. Say,
mm,
my name is Fatima. I'm hiring for this role. By the end of 2024, I'm hoping that this person that I hire will have achieved X, Y, and Z. I'm sharing this context with you because I want you to be prepared to answer and to support the questions that I'm asking you with stories about times you've done similar things, with times when you've met similar objectives. Be kind in that regard. Share a lot of information. Say, this is
mm,
how I got my start in this company. Before this, I
mm,
used to do that. Tell them a little bit about yourself so they understand who you are and what your values might be.
mm,
Say, I love working with people who have X, Y, and Z skill. People that I generally, if you're going to end up managing them, you can say something like, people that I generally don't like working with are people that can't take feedback well, or people that can't do blah, blah, blah. And if that sounds like you, no hard feelings at all. This is a two-way street. You're interviewing me and seeing if my opportunity is a good fit for you as much as I'm interviewing you. Make them comfortable like that. And compliment them. Say, I was looking at your profile and I see that you've done ABC, and that's amazing. Like, I don't really see many people that have that. Or, hey, I see that you were in speech and debate and I was in speech and debate too. So show them that you're paying attention. You care about who they are as a person. This takes like 10 minutes of prep time. It's not that challenging. So act like you are trying to impress somebody to marry you. That's what I always say.
Why are you so focused on marrying? It's like,
Because networking and interviewing is exactly like getting married. Exactly. And you wouldn't be creepy and go to some, like handsome man or a pretty girl and be like, will you marry me first thing? You don't go to people and say, give me a job. You ask them simple questions. See, just like I was saying, you establish the Benjamin Franklin effect. You say, can you recommend me a book? Or is there a coffee shop nearby that you really enjoy? Let's go there sometime, and then you start dating them and then you marry them. This is like, people be asking stupid questions like, will you marry me in the oh yeah, and there's ladies in your class. I'm sure they've gotten marriage proposals on Facebook or on Instagram or whatever's hip and cool with the young crowd these days. They know what I'm talking about. I don't know if the men have, but I know the ladies have. Ladies, raise your hand if that's happened to you. See, people probably raising their hand right now.
yeah, no. Anyway, so let's not go down that road. Uh, right. Okay. So another question that popped in my mind was that when I am talking about my technical skills and I'm telling the person what I can do for them, technically
Mhm.
speaking, sometimes people get flustered and they have this tendency to ramble and they keep going on and on and on and on, and they can't really hold this linear line of thought. Linear line of thought. Awesome.
Mhm. Mhm.
uh,
That's
anyways,
you. Wow.
so how do I keep my responses short yet meaningful or impactful?
Well, understand that a lot of this is coming from nerves. If you're
Hmm,
nervous, you're going to tend to ramble. So if you know that you're doing that, just be cognizant of it, and just
hmm,
knowing it is going to be like half of the battle for you. The second thing you want to know is when you're speaking, it takes you about a minute to speak out 5 sentences.
hmm,
So what you can secretly do is you can count like this on your hand and see like how many sentences have I spoken, and that'll
hmm,
give you an idea for an indication for how long you've been speaking. You want your answer to be 1 to 2 minutes max, and if you're like, I'm telling a really big story, like it's gonna take me more time, you can stop at like the 10 sentence mark and be like, I can tell you more if you want. And allowing the interviewer to just say yes and confirm, it kind of resets that conversational back and forth, and it resets their attention span. So you're not sitting and listening to somebody drone on for like 25 minutes, which has happened. I've interviewed candidates that have given me 25-minute answers, and I've timed them because I was staring at the clock on my computer
yeah,
the entire
you
time.
zone out, right?
Yeah, I zoned out. It's not humanly possible to pay
Hmm,
attention for that long without participating in some way, without
true.
making it a conversation. As you know, because you probably have some very boring professors that do that. So,
And yes, I agree with that because the courses that I take are particularly dry and boring.
mhm,
And because they are not the core courses that CS or engineering or business while students have, they tend to think that these are unimportant courses that mean nothing to them.
Mm-hmm.
So about 10 minutes into the class, a lot of them start falling asleep. So I have to do certain things to keep them awake. Sometimes sometimes use medieval torture instruments also. Not talking about those. Anyway, so this brings me to another. Let's sidetrack a little bit and talk about people who have social anxiety and who
Mm-hmm.
don't perform very well in public speaking situations. Because an
Mm-hmm.
interview is a public speaking situation, what do I do? How do I can't magically turn into a good public speaker, can I?
Yeah, and you're not going to do well at all if the first time you've spoken in a long time in a formal setting
Mm,
is at an interview. You're going to bomb that interview. So, what you want to
mm,
do is find a friend that you trust and schedule a mock interview with them. Make it as realistic as possible. Ask them to bring a friend that they don't know, like that you don't know, sorry, so that there's that some, that pressure of trying to impress somebody new. And create this artificial interview situation so that you have that pressure on you and so that you're um, it's going to be really helpful, and do this with a couple of different friends. You can share the questions with them to make their prep easier, or you can ask them to use ChatGPT to generate
mm,
questions for your position. It comes up with some pretty good interview questions, and try to mimic that as much as possible. If you are doing virtual interviews like on Zoom or Google Meet or whatever, make sure you replicate that as well. So have them meet with you on Zoom, have them meet with you on Google Meet, so that you're replicating that exact scenario as much as possible, and have them give you honest feedback, have them give you constructive feedback. Schedule this with one of your rudest friends, the person that doesn't hesitate to just do so much basty, and you'll be good.
mm,
You'll be good.
mhm. Okay, since we are talking about ChatGPT, and in the academic circles, is being debated a lot these days.
Mhm.
So I believe you have a tool, and you have developed this tool to help people use ChatGPT productively to help them with their resume writing and their
Mhm.
other things. Could you share a little bit about that with us?
I'm actually in process of developing that tool. I'm developing a
Mm,
minimum viable product mobile app, but what I
mm,
have is a series of ChatGPT scripts you can use to write the most powerful resume ever that just goes beyond write a resume for like a computer science student, right?
mm,
The set of prompts that I have are great even if you're non-traditional students. Even if you're a non-traditional student, you're changing majors, you're going into a different field than what you've studied, you have no extracurricular activities, no matter what weakness you perceive in yourself as a student candidate, that my set of prompts can help you address them. You can access them at careertuners.ai completely for free. Please sign up actually, because
yeah.
looking
If,
looking
if
to
you
be
could show them that on your screen.
yeah.
A lot of these dum-dums need visual stimulus because they're addicted to their screens.
It's okay, beta. Okay, so it's careertuners.ai, right? And then let me
Mhm,
zoom in for you guys. So here, and on mobile, it's going to look like this. You just do all courses. But on desktop, you just click course, and this is it. This is the course. That's me. You go down. On mobile, it's this button's a little hard to find. You have to go all the way down to click start now. But on desktop, you can just click start now, and
mhm.
you can see there's already almost 300 students.
That's
So
pretty good.
you'll be asked to sign up. It's completely for free. And
Awesome.
then you will be taken to videos where you'll see my face talking at you, being very boring, right? Because I'm such a
Mhm.
boring lecturer. So please sign up. I promise you, you'll learn a lot, and it's going to impact you not just for this set of jobs and scholarships that you're looking for, but throughout your career. And it's going to really, really impact your earning potential.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank
And
you
then
for.
yeah, whoever joins, I'll tell you guys about my app as well. That should hopefully be ready. It's going to be like an AI interview prep app based on ChatGPT. So that should be hopefully rolled out soon.
Thank you. That's amazing. Thank you
Thank
for this.
you.
Thank you for
Like the
creating this.
nicest you've ever been to me. You guys,
Uh,
he's so mean to me. You guys, I told him he was my best friend, and then he told me that his best friend was somebody else. That's so mean. I cried. I cried that day.
all right. So, okay. So let's move towards concluding this session. And let me ask you a couple of questions about personal statements.
Hmm.
A lot of my students come to me and they ask me to write personal statements for them. A lot of them are also using Chat GPT for it.
Oh,
Uh,
please don't do that.
yeah, that's what I tell them. Because a personal statement has to come from the person, it has to have that personality, that humanity in it, and not look like it's machine generated, regurgitating all those generic sort of structures back at the reader. What would you recommend?
Here's what I would recommend. Go to my LinkedIn profile
Hmm.
right here. So my profile is linkedin.com/career tuners, linkedin.com/in/career tuners, right? And go to the most recent live that I did, which is mastering your personal statement, avoid common mistakes. It's like a 15-20 minute thing about the biggest mistakes I've seen and what to do instead. So please check that out. Literally answers like why you shouldn't be using ChatGPT and how that's going to make your essay really stupid and how you're not going to get any scholarships if you do that. Because ChatGPT, as great as it is and as wonderful as it is as a teaching aid and as like I use it too. I'm taking programming classes right now. I go to ChatGPT and I'm like, I don't know why this code isn't working, and it helps me figure it out. So I know it can be very valuable. What it can't do is actually write well. And I know that's kind of controversial because you're like, I've used it for my papers and I've gotten A's. I know, but personal statements are totally different, right? These are essays where you're supposed to be interesting, and ChatGPT never produces interesting content. When you're in the admissions committee and you're reading like a stack of 100 essays, you're going to be bored to tears. So you need an
Mm,
essay that's going to stand out. You're going to need an essay that really helps you remember the student and is memorable. You can use ChatGPT to polish and check your grammar and stuff like that, but that's the extent that I would go. I would not use it to write. I promise you, you're not going to get into any good schools. You might get into a school where you have to pay a lot, but those are like the farm.
fast.
No, not fast. Like okay, there's this person that I know that got into like some university in Boston and like they have to pay a lot. I mean, they're in
Mm,
America, but
mm.
it's like they're not getting a proper education. It's no UCLA. It's no Stanford.
So every single university in Pakistan, then.
What's
Anyway,
your opinion on LUMS though? I heard it's like
Lums is super elitist.
oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah, and that's why we hate it.
What
Um,
about Nest? What's your opinion on Nest?
Nust is not as bougie, but it still is a little bit bougie. I mean, it's at par with Fast, I would say. The kind of
Okay.
brats that come to Fast also apply to Nust a lot of the
Okay.
times. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
What's your opinion on Ikra University?
It used to be kind of bougie, and they said it was a party school. Uh, yeah, so it kind of is a party school, but it's not as bougie as it used to be.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Um, all right. So here's another question. So I was helping out this student write a personal statement where there was a character or word count, a very strict one, 250 words to be exact. And that's not a lot of words at all. What do I do when I have this restraint on me?
You write as much as you want first
Mm,
without paying attention at all to the word limit, and
mm,
then you go back and edit it down. If
mm,
you're
mm,
thinking constantly, oh, I have to only write 250 words, you're not going to write a good
mm,
essay
mm,
because you're the mathematical part of your brain that's responsible for like consolidating similar ideas and editing down, and the creative part of your brain that wants to tell a really interesting and exciting story, they're going to
mm,
clash and you're not going to get anywhere. You're just going to be
mm,
like ADHD with it. So write it, even if it's like 1,000 words, that's
mm,
okay. Then you can ask ChatGPT for tips on shortening it down. It
mm,
can't really shorten essays well. Like I've tried to
mm,
give it long essays and been like, can you shorten this?
mm,
I
mm,
found that the essays that it gave me were like really piqué, right? And
PK. Bland,
they're
yeah.
bland
Mm,
English. Um, so I didn't really like my experience with using ChatGPT, but it can give you ideas. It could
Mm,
definitely give
mm.
you ideas.
Actually, it so happens that we also did this. The student and I took the same approach. The student wrote whatever they wanted to write, and then we shortened it to
Yes.
250 words. And I think the student did an amazing job shortening it in the end.
Hmm.
So kudos to that person. You know who you are, and yeah, and that's that. All right.
Yeah, that's
Anything
that.
else you would like to add to the conversation?
Am I your best friend? Yes or no?
Best friend is Avas. Hands down, Avas.
Oh, you guys, did you hear that? Like, okay, all right. Tell Wes to do your workshops then, huh? How about that?
Well, we do workshops, but of a this of another nature, I guess.
Mhm.
Yeah, yeah. All right. So I think we have covered about
Yeah, yeah. We talked
everything.
about AI tools. We talked about personal
Mhm.
statements, negotiation. We talked about interviews.
Hmm.
So I think we've covered everything. Yeah.
All right. Okay.
Okay, let
And
me stop the recording then. Thank you so much, you guys, and please sign up for careertuners.ai. Oh, and
oh,
the cheat sheets that I shared with you.
oh yes, 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 yes. If you could quickly tell us the resources that you will share with us.
I've already dumped them in your chat. If you can
Mm-hmm.
grab them from there, there's like an interview
Mm-hmm.
cheat sheet, a resume cheat sheet,
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn cheat sheet. There's cheat
Mm-hmm.
sheets for everything. There's even like a networking one,
Mm-hmm.
cover letter template. Please check those out. Those will help you out a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And check out my samples page because some of the content that I have in my LinkedIn and resume cheat sheets are for people that are much older than you
Mm-hmm.
guys.
Hmm.
But some of my samples are for younger professionals, so you'll be able to use those. But I wouldn't even look at those to be frank. Like for the resume resources, just check out careertuners.ai because that's
Hmm.
specifically made for young professionals who are struggling to write their resumes.
Awesome. 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 Um, yeah, I think I have no more questions.
Okay. Okay,
All
sounds
right.
good. I'm gonna stop the recording. Thank you guys so much for
Oh, oh,
paying
oh, oh,
attention.
I
Okay,
do
okay.
have something for the recording. Uh,
Pakistani goodbye. Have to say goodbye 8 times. Yes.
yes. So Fatma is actually active on Instagram.
Mhm.
You can follow her page, but please don't send her private messages.
I
Do
actually
follow.
don't really check my Instagram account, but I do
Hmm,
post content there. So if you're
hmm,
DMing me, there's gonna be like an automated thing that tells you to email me. So
hmm. So there
so
you go.
yeah,
Yeah.
there you go.
Yeah. Thank you so much for doing this again. I know it's super early where you are, and thank you so much for taking out time.
My pleasure.
Uh, means a lot to us, really.
Okay. We'll see when I'm your best friend. We'll see.